Why is Solana primed for big swings this year, right? So I'm going to discuss that with you today. And with that said and done, we're going to get straight into the assessment of the markets. So first things first is I want to point out what is obvious to us to see, and what we're doing is we're looking at all of this on the daily time frame, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lay out the important areas of interest, and then we're going to work our way backwards so that hopefully everything makes sense once I am done. So the first thing we're going to do, as always, we're going to add in the volume profile, okay? And once again, if you're new to the volume profile, I have a video, or I have a series of videos on how I use the volume profile, so you can go check that out. I will drop a link in the description, so make sure you go and see that. So what we can see here is that we have a clear channel, ascending channel forming. Okay, so we have a clear ascending channel forming, and we're going to highlight those levels because they're of interest to us, right? Okay, so we have those levels there now as it stands. Now the thing about this particular structure that we're looking at is that it has a high probability of breaking to the downside. So it has a high probability of doing this, right? Now, as it stands right now, Solana is currently sitting at $162. Okay, so if you wanted to grab some SOL for yourself, you kind of want to be looking for it around this level, which is say between the 124 and 192 level. That's kind of where you want to grab this from. Possibly, yeah, in this zone actually. In this zone is where you want to grab it from. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to highlight an area for a potential buy. Okay, so if you're going in with a buy on Solana, this is where you would want to do it from, and I'll be targeting the low volume nodes, right? So let's just say we are going to target, say $40, right? $140, sorry. $140 seems reasonable. Let me go in and just make sure that I set everything up properly. As I'm sure you've noticed, I tend to use a lot of rounded numbers. I just think it's just really easy to understand, and if you've been in the game for any period of time, you would know that you can just average out the position. It doesn't have to be dead on $140, right? It doesn't have to be dead on that, but what it can be is around that region. If you do get the move, you know what to do and how to do it. So let me just put a little note here. And remember, this is not financial advice, so I expect you to do your due diligence to make sure that everything you're seeing on this channel makes sense to you before you go commit your hard-earned capital to it, right? And where you would want to put your stop, okay, if you're doing that. I mean, if you're buying Solana based on what it is, I mean, do you really want to stop? But say, let's just be sensible here, let's just say you want to stop. So I will target these lows down here, okay, and I will do, let's just say 120. Let's just do 120. And then your TP at this level would be around 180. So your TP will be set for you around 180, okay, just in case it decides to do another push up again before it collapses. Now, where I am laying all of these things out for you, it's where you would put the reverse move, because remember once what I said at the very beginning of this video, or close to the beginning of the video, is that this structure here has a higher probability of breaking downwards, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to catch the move going up. Once it hits that level, we're going to reposition ourselves and then ride it down. Once again, not financial advice, right? I'm not giving you financial advice. I'm expecting you to obviously do the work to make sure that everything you're hearing here makes a lot of sense to you, all right? Because it makes a lot of sense to me. However, I also understand how to turn myself around in the markets when things starts going wrong, right? So it's easy for me to say that to you, and I just don't want you following me blindly without you doing the necessary work that goes along with this sort of stuff. So essentially speaking, use this as an opportunity, or use this video as an opportunity to go back test, make sure everything is making sense, make sure that all the stuff I've talked about in the past also makes sense as well. If you really want to follow what it is that I'm saying and you believe in what it is I'm saying, I think you should definitely test the credibility of my work, supposing to you just believing. I don't think most of you guys will do that, but I just have to pull it in there just in case there is the odd person that would, right? Now also, these levels that we've marked out here, so this is your buy level if price comes down here, your stop level, and your TP. Now these levels are to be reversed in the opposite direction once price comes here, you lock in and flies up here, TP hits, right? Maybe it pushes up some more, maybe it doesn't, who knows. But once it begins to fly back down here again, this would be your sell level. So now that will change to sell here, right? So you sell at that level. You would move your stop to, because that will be a logical place to actually put your stop. I'm just trying to find a nice rounded number. Let's just say 210. Okay, it could be lower, but we're just going to go with 210. So that will be your stop, and your TP would be, I will target 100. Yep, I will target 100. Oops. And that is how I would do that, right? Now let's unpack this, because I am more leaning towards the sell than the buy, right? I'm more leaning towards the sell opposing to the buy. So let's look at why would we take the sell based on what we're seeing here. It's just because historically this particular structure that we see always breaks downwards. Yes, sometimes it goes up. We have an example of one right here where it's just gone up, but in most cases it breaks down. Okay, it breaks down, and if we actually look at what is taking place in this area right here, okay, we can see if this does break down, this is a head and shoulders, head, shoulder, right? So what I've kind of laid out, I'm not saying that is 100% spot on, but I will say there is some strong logic to what I've just shared with you guys over here. Okay, so now that we've gotten this structure over here pointed out to you guys, let's look at what's actually going on in this area based on what the volume profile is telling us. Okay, so what we can see here, especially where I've put the sell, is right underneath the value area high. Okay, so right underneath the value area high, and right underneath that we have a low volume node right here. So price would have gone into the low volume node and would have been rejected. Once it has been rejected, that's when your sell triggers, right? And when your sell triggers, okay, it's going to fly down. But however, there is an area of concern. This is where price is currently sitting right now, in this low volume node area. Okay, so in all fairness, the buy option that I put might not even come into view, but however, the sell move could. And that is if price bounces into this area over here, gets to the volume area, the value area high and then rejects, chances are this low volume node area over here is going to blast straight through it and make its way down to the value area low, which is right down here. Down there we have a low volume node sitting. At this point, I would have expected you to do the sensible thing. Just because price is in this location over here, it makes a lot of sense to have a trailing stop activated. Where and when you put your trailing stop, that is up to you. I'm not going to advise you on that. But if this analysis does pan out, it basically means that price is heading down to 100. And if it does, the thing that you want to do when price gets to this level, it's not an immediate buyback into the market. No, you want to wait and see if price makes its way above the value area low. If it closes above that and it's above the low volume node in this area, then you can ride it back up again. All right, then you can ride it back up again. So based on what it is that I've just described to you, this is how I would be moving in the Solana market if I was going to be taking a position. The only reason why I'm doing that is because there is a lot of people out there that want to be involved in crypto due to how their lives is all set up. They're unable to tap in at the right time, at the right time, etc. And I'm hoping to do my best to assist those individuals. Second is, I'm also expecting you to do the hard work of understanding market structure and how market moves and how market behaves. Okay, the idea is through education, so with what I'm sharing with you and with all the other stuff that you could learn from other people as well, the books and all the other cool things that you should do, right, is going to further reinforce you, right, give you the skills and the confidence so that should this cycle come around again, high probability it will, right, you would know what to do without seeking advice from anybody and anyone, right? So with this, if you have found the content useful, hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification and drop us a like, and I will see you all on the next one.